Welcome back, design students. Let's continue working with our barrel texture and building it. So what we need now is to put the metal textures here on the bands. So to do that, we're going to go to the metal texture that I have here. It may not be the same one you have. If it's not, that's okay. And again, I'm going to hit Command A to select all. You can do that again right here. And then I'm going to hit Command C to copy. And again, you can do that right here. Then I'm going to go to my barrel UV template, and I'm going to make sure I have this layer selected, and I'm going to hit Command V. And you can paste it also here. And I've now pasted a new layer in there, and all I really need to do is put this right here, and you'll see why in a minute. I'm going to hit Command T for free transform, and you can do that right here as well. And I'm going to hold down Shift so I can scale non-uniformly and drag this way. And then I'm going to drag it this way so that it covers the entire barrel UV, like so. And then I'll push Enter to accept my transformation. And now if I was to render this out right now, what would happen is the barrel would be metal. So we want to delete the parts that we don't want to be on the barrel. So to do that, I'm going to zoom in a little bit and scroll down. I'm going to get my Marquee Select tool, which is right here, and I'm going to highlight the parts that I don't want to be on the barrel. And I can hold down Shift and add to my selection. See the little plus sign there? And I'm simply highlighting the parts that I don't want to be on the barrel, and I'm adding to my selection, and it's basically every other one here, like so. Once you get that done, all you got to do is hit delete on your keyboard, and there you have it. Then you need to hit Command D to deselect. You can also do that right here, or where is it? Here, right here. And so now let's render this out and see what it looks like. I'm going to turn these two off again and go to File, Export As. I'm going to click Export. And now I'm in my folder already because that's the last folder I was in, and I'm just going to select the barrel UV albedo that I did before and just overwrite it. And then when I go back to Maya, I will have to go to the texture and click Reload. And you can see now we have metal on our bands. We need to rotate around the scene and make sure that the metal texture doesn't overlap onto the barrel. I'm going to turn off my safe frames here so I can see better. And it looks like it's okay. Notice, let's go back to Maya Classic for a second. Notice here, right here, you can see that we have a wood texture on the bottom of this band, and probably on the bottom of this band too, but it doesn't matter because we're not going to see that part anyway. So next up, we're going to do the top here. Notice that the boards here match up on the top, and that is because I unwrapped this piece and put it in the texture right here at the top, so it would match up with the boards that are below it. Okay, the next step is to do the top, but before we do that, I want to show you how to make features that are not actually part of the mesh using Photoshop. In this case, we're going to make some rivets. To make some rivets on the metal here, I'm going to get my circular or my elliptical marquee tool right here, and I'm going to get about right here, and I'm going to hold down Shift and Alt so I can scale from the middle, and I'm going to scale down about like that, make a small selection. Then I'm going to hold down Shift again and Alt, and sorry, there we go, and create another one about the same size. Doesn't have to be perfect. it's telling me no pixels were selected, so let's try that again. There we go. Now I can move these around after the fact, and I will. I can scale them after the fact, and I will. But what we're going to do now is we're going to hit Command C for copy and Command V for paste. And what we've done is selected a little tiny bit of that metal texture, and we've created a new layer right here. You can't see the rivets yet, but we're going to fix that right now. What we need to do is add a layer style to this rivet layer. And I'm going to double click on the rivet layer like so, and that brings up the Layer Styles menu. And what we want to do here is add the bevel and emboss layer style, and when we do, you can immediately see the rivets. If you have that selected, you can play around with the depth and the size and all of that if you want to. I kind of like that. It looks a little more rounded. And you can also add a drop shadow to it if you would like. You can see the little shadow here. You can tighten that up a little bit. Needs to be very subtle. And then you can click OK. Now we can move these around. To move them around, to add more rivets, all we need to do is right-click and duplicate the layer and get the Move tool and move them around. Naturally, I would want them to be more together here, but I was just doing this for demonstration. And we can duplicate that and put that again, and we could duplicate it and put as many rivets as we want on this thing. In fact, maybe I'll do a couple more. Just for demonstration. And I might put some over here as well. But notice now I have a whole lot of layers in my layers panel. I think I want to organize this a little bit, so I'm going to select my rivet layers, and I'm going to do that by holding down Command and selecting each one. And then I'm going to create a layer folder here, like so, by clicking this little icon. And I now have created a folder, and I can name that folder Rivets. And inside the folder are all the rivets. See? So to render this out, we would turn off the top two layers and export it again, just like we did before. Remember to select the file name that you already used so you overwrite it. And then switch to Maya and reload the texture. And there's our rivets. That's an easy way to add depth to the model without actually adding any more polygons or geometry. Okay, let's switch back to Photoshop and do the top. I'll turn back on the UV layers, and now we're going to do this top part. So I'm going to use some different boards this time. I think I'll use these. And we're going to hit Command A to select all. Remember, you can do that right here. And then we're going to hit Command C to copy. You can do that right here. And then we're going to go back and paste that in. Now, this layer can be used to cover both of these, the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to move that over here and hit Command T, make it a little bigger. And then I'm just going to hold down, I'm going to grab the corner here and make it bigger still. I think that's okay. And then I'm going to hit Enter to select to accept my transformation. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is select the outer part of this texture and delete it, because we don't want it on top of this and we don't want it on top of this. We just want it here. So I'm going to use my circular select tool, and I'm going to get right in the middle of this thing, and I'm going to click and drag, and then I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to add Alt, just like so. And I'm going to do the same here by holding down Shift, dragging, and then adding Alt. There we go. And then I'm going to invert this selection. I'm going to go to Select, Inverse, and I'm going to hit Delete. And that deleted everything except what I have selected. And I'm going to hit Command D to deselect. Now we could also add a hole in the barrel here. I think this is the top. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is, by using the same technique we used to make the rivets. I am going to select, make a small circular selection, maybe a little bigger this time, about like that. And then I'm going to hit Command C, Command V to paste that piece in. And then I am going to add layer styles to it, bevel and emboss. This time I'm going to make it a down bevel and play with the size of it. And I'm just going to click OK. Now I don't want, there needs to be an actual hole there, so I'm going to hold down Control and click this and see if I can, or Command and click this and see if I can convert that to a selection. I did, but I need to make it smaller because I want this part to be black. So I'm going to go to Select, Transform Selection, and I'm going to grab the corner here of my selection and hold down Alt and scale it from the center until it gets to the center there. And now I can hit Enter. I can create a new layer. I need to create a new layer, and I'm going to fill this selection with black. I need to reset my colors here to black, and I'm going to hit Command or Alt Delete, and that fills that selection with black, and then I can deselect. Now I've created a hole. So let's render the texture again. Turn off the two UV layers, File, Export. Make sure to select the texture you've already named so you overwrite it. Go back to Maya and reload the texture, and you can see the hole right there. You also have texture on the bottom, you can't see it. Now when we come back, we'll begin to do the top here, and I'll see you in the next video.